Shalom, shalom. Back again with another video, another Think About It Thursday video, right? We're the hopeful elect. Hopefully this video is edifying to the nation. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, honor, obeisance, and oblations to the Most High God by the way of his Son, who's an instrument of salvation for the nation of Israel. Right? I want to say shalom to all the brothers and sisters out there enduring in this captivity, fighting temptation and fighting lust and fighting all the persecution that's coming their way, and enduring, right? And keeping the first works, right, of their first love when they first came into this truth, right? I was thinking that the other day. It's really mighty for brothers and sisters who came in this truth and was whether it was, doing truth music or making videos or doing posts, right? I really commend brothers and sisters that stayed, or even, making clothing or head wraps, whatever. If you've been in this truth for a minute, man, and you haven't fell off, hey, shalom to you. Shalom to those that are that could be doing anything right now, but you're watching a video getting edified. I also want to say shalom to all the cleavers out there, right? Those that are cleaving to their fellow Israelite, being submissive to their fellow Israelite, and keeping the pros and cons. What are the pros and cons, you might say, right? Professing the truth and who the real God is, right? The one true and living God, the God of Israel, and who the true chosen people are. Professing the truth and also confessing all the lies that have been told and passed down throughout all the years. So shalom to all the cleavers out there that's holding on to the skirts of him that is a Jew, right? Getting into this Think About It Thursday, it's going to be very relaxed, right? It's not going to be very precept heavy, right? But I will quote things every now and then, and you can, go and find them on your own, right? Study to show yourself approved. Jot them down for your own comfort, right? We find comfort and hope in these scriptures, as the scriptures say, right? But we're going to be attacking a parable, the parable of wading in the water, right? Or troubled waters, right? We know the song, wade in the water, children, right? A lot of us don't know what that means, so we're going to go over this parable in the New Testament to show us what that means. Because indeed, those people that were in slavery singing that song knew who they were. They knew this book, right? They knew what was written, and they knew to wade in the water, and they knew what that meant. So you should know what it means too, right? Moving forward. All right, so we're going to go over that parable in John chapter 5. We're going to start at verse 2. All right. And like I said, it's not going to be very precept heavy, very relaxed, right? We're going to talk through this and break it down because I feel like it's going to connect with us in the state that we are in today, right? It's a very prophetic parable, right? Without further ado, let's get into it. This is John chapter 5 and verse 2. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. Verse 3. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, right? What does the word impotent mean, right? You go and look up that word impotent. It means powerless, right? Folk. It's powerless people that are helpless, right? That need help. They're crippled, right? And these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, right? They can't see, halt, can't move, withered. They don't have no muscles, no strength, waiting for the moving of the water, right? They're waiting for the moving of the water. When you see that moving of the water, they're talking about like a gust of wind or a storm, right? Something to shake up the water, stir up the water, a natural occurrence, right? But what's going to move the water? Verse 4 is going to tell us. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water, right? So wade in the water. God's going to trouble the water, right? Trouble the water means what? To bring a storm, right? When you see a storm a brewing or coming, it's trouble coming, right? You got to take shelter. So troubling the water would be like a storm. The angel would be a spirit that came and sent like a natural disaster, like a hurricane, tsunami, or whatever, to this pool, right? Called Bethesda, right? Um, and an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first after the troubling of the water stepped in was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. So when the water was stirred up, when you touched that water, you were healed. You were set free, right? If you couldn't move, you could move. If you couldn't see, you could see. If you were withered, you were now strong, right? So people were waiting in line around this pool called Bethesda on these porches, right? So that they can get their blessing. They were waiting in anticipation. All right. Verse 5, it says, and a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years. I'm going to read it as is for the people that are new in this thing. When Jesus saw him lie and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he saith unto him, wilt thou be made whole? Right? So if Jesus is asking you, like, will you be made whole? You don't, look, you trying to get put into this pool, you can't perform miracles. And the one that's been famous, that's been performing miracles, ask you, he has the audacity to ask you, are you going to be made whole? Right? Verse 7, the impotent man, the helpless man, the powerless man answered him, sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool, but while I am coming, another stepped down before me, right? So he couldn't walk, he couldn't move. And so even though he was by the pool waiting to get into the water, when the water was troubled and that storm came, he couldn't get in because so many people were going ahead of him and he couldn't move. He didn't have nobody to help him out, right? Verse 8, Jesus saith unto him, rise, take up thy bed and walk. And immediately the man was made whole, right? So let's break this down real quick in the time that we're living in today, starting at verse 2, right? So we're going to go from verse 2 to where did I stop? Verse 9, right? 2 to verse 9, right? It's not going to be a very long video at all, but it's going to be very powerful, and you're going to see how it pertains to what's going on today, right? Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches, right? So here, this was physically Jerusalem, but right now we could say Jerusalem. A lot of times when you read in the Bible, when it's talking about the nation of Israel, it's talking about the people, it'll mention different cities, right? Because we're moving in that spirit, right? And really, we're the ones that make that city great, right? So when it says, now there is at Jerusalem, spiritually, the lost sheep right now is Jerusalem, right? By the sheep market, a pool, right? So guess what? We're the sheep. We're at the sheep market in Jerusalem, the nation of Israel, and the pool is the elect, right? So a lot of people, you might get into a fantasy league and there might be a pool, right, that you're drafting out of, right, drafting in, and it's an elect, and it's an election, right? So that pool nowadays is the elect of Jerusalem, the elect of the sheep, because we know all Israel ain't Israel. Not everybody's going to be saved, right? Even though many are called, only few are chosen, right? In the Hebrew tongue called Bethesda, having 5 porches, right? Verse 3, in these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, right? Impotent meaning powerless, like we said before, right? Here in this captivity, really everywhere in captivity, if you go to Brazil, you go to China, you go to Africa, right? Our people are in captivity, right? We're in servitude to other nations and they are benefiting off of us, right? We're impotent. We're helpless. We don't have no power. We don't have no military might. We don't have no police. We don't, you know what I'm saying? Everybody rules over us. So we're the impotent, the helpless folk, right? Blind. It says of blind, right? So, we're groping at noonday, meaning what? We can't see our way. Then we cleave on to somebody else that can't see their way. So it's the blind leading the blind into the ditch, right? Jeremiah 23 talks about our blind pastors that's, destroying the flock of sheep, right? So we're all blind. Halt, meaning what? Just like Samson, we're going around in circles, man. He took our eyes out. We going around in circles. We can't move, right? This is, talking about us. Withered, meaning guess what? We're dry bones. Can these dry bones live though? Right? We're dry bones. We're withered. We have no strength. We're feeble, right? Our tongue cleaveth to the roof of our mouth, right? We're bloated. You can see our ribs. Spiritually, we are weak, right? And that's why we have to fast to build our spirit up. That's why we have to pray. That's why we have to keep reading that now that we're coming to the knowledge of the truth, right? Because we got to be ready to jump into that pool. So all of that is in anticipation to jump into that pool when that troubling of the water comes, right? Right? We're waiting for the moving of the water. So we're waiting for the moving of the water. We're the blind, crippled, and powerless, right? But we find our power in what? Right? Like Philippians says, our strength is what? Through Christ. All right? I can do all things through Christ. Verse 4. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool. Revelation, dang. Let me go to it. Because it's slipping my mind. I don't want to quote the wrong one. Revelation, I want to say 22 and 12. I want to say 22 and 12. Because it says this angel. What angel is this talking about? 22 and 12, it says, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be. Right? Christ is coming down to stir up the water. Christ is coming down to that lake of fire. Christ is coming down to heal the impotent folk, to trouble the water, to heal us. Right? It says, for an angel went down at a certain season. We don't know the time or the place. Right? He don't know the time. Only when his Father sends him. So a certain season into the pool. Remember, that pool is the election, right? Into that pool of elect, right? He's going to call his elect when he comes back, right? And troubled water, right? Meaning, guess what? Jacob's trouble. It's not, that storm is bittersweet. We know that storm's coming. We know Jacob's trouble is coming. But we know once we step in that water, that troubled time, right? We're going to get our salvation. Like a woman in travail. Right? When she's giving birth, she's in pain. But once the delivery is here and the baby's delivered and she delivers a man child, like I think Wisdom of Solomon says, guess what? Once she delivers that man child, all the pain is forgotten. Right? So we want to step into that troubled water. That Jacob's trouble is coming, but we know what's coming out of it. Salvation. Right? It says, whosoever then first after the troubling of the water stepped in was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. So we always got to be in anticipation, right? We go back to the 5 virgins. Well, the 10 virgins, 5 of them were wise and they were ready. They had their lamps trimmed. They had oil in their lamps, right? And they was ready to go into the bride chamber, right? But the other 5, they was being slack. They wasn't ready. They wasn't ready to step into that water. So we got to be ready to step into the water. And a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years, right? And when Jesus saw him lie and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he saith unto him, wilt thou be made whole, right? So like right now, Christ is saying, hey, look, are you going to be made whole, right? Are you doing what it takes to get salvation? Do you have faith to be made whole? That's pretty much what he's asking, right? So all of us, constantly our faith is being tried. Verse 7, the impotent man, the powerless man, us, right, answered him and said, sir, I have no man when the water is troubled. I don't have nobody to help me. A lot of times when we come into this truth, we're put into a period of solitude. We see like we're losing family, we're losing friends, we're losing jobs, right? We have no help, right? I have no man to help to put me into the pool, right? Nobody to help teach me, nobody help to call me. And you put it into this moment of solitude, right? Because guess what? The Most High God says you got to figure it out with fear and trembling, right? Every man got to work out their own salvation. He has to work out his own salvation. You can't have somebody make you a part of the elect. You have to earn your way to be part of the elect, unlike the Christian church says, right? But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. Right? Jesus said unto him, rise, take up thy bed and walk. Right? So he's been telling us all throughout this word, hey, look, be perfect like your Father in heaven is perfect. Rise, take up your bed and walk. Right? Don't lay on your bed. Don't sleep on your bed. You're not dead. Right? Take up all your baggage and walk, man. You can walk now. You can walk by yourself. Right? Verse 9, and immediately the man was made whole and took up his bed and walked, right? And on the same day was the Sabbath, right? That's pretty powerful because we know it's prophesied, Matthew 24, pray that your flight not be on the Sabbath day or in the winter, right? And right here we say the angel that came, Christ, he did the healing on the Sabbath day. So that's why we keep these Sabbath days, because guess what? He could come back on the Sabbath day, right? That's part of anticipation. So, this breakdown, right, was just a quick little think about it Thursday to say, guess what? Be ready to step into that troubled water when he comes back, right? And get your healing. But with that, I'm going to say shalom.